The day my wife celebrated closing a $33 million deal should have been the happiest day of our marriage. Instead, it became the day she looked into my eyes without recognizing the man who had spent years believing in her dreams. Before the champagne glasses were empty and the congratulations had faded, she told me to leave our home because she believed I had become nothing more than a shadow standing in the way of her success. 3 days later, she walked into a conference room expecting another victory, only to discover that my name appeared on every single page of the documents lying before her. In that unforgettable moment, the truth she had ignored for years finally caught up with her, and it changed both our lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is never weakness, that love deserves second chances, and that every sacrifice eventually matters, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends and family, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach people who truly need them. My name is Michael, and this story began years before that painful evening in Chicago, Illinois. My wife, Rebecca, was brilliant, determined, and fearless. From the first day we met at a small community fundraiser, I knew she carried dreams far bigger than her surroundings. While many people admired her confidence, very few understood the amount of fear she carried behind her smile. I did. I saw every sleepless night, every rejection email, every business proposal that came back unanswered. I stood beside her when nobody else believed she could build a company that would compete with giants. While she attended networking events and investor meetings, I quietly handled everything else. I managed our finances, worked extra consulting jobs, cooked dinner, paid overdue bills, and encouraged her every single time disappointment threatened to steal her hope. I never considered it a sacrifice because I believed marriage meant carrying each other through different seasons. Years passed, and Rebecca slowly climbed higher than either of us had imagined. Her startup attracted investors, talented employees joined her company, and national business magazines began writing about her incredible leadership. Success arrived faster than peace. The more recognition she received, the less she noticed the invisible work happening behind the scenes. Friends started calling her self-made, and eventually she began believing those words herself. The countless evenings I spent editing presentations, researching competitors, organizing financial reports, and quietly solving problems became invisible. I wasn't looking for applause, but I never expected to become forgotten. The day the $33 million acquisition closed, television cameras filled the office. Reporters praised Rebecca as a visionary entrepreneur. Everyone applauded as she signed the final agreement. Standing near the back of the room, I smiled with genuine pride because I remembered the tiny apartment where we had once celebrated simply paying rent on time. But later that evening, everything shattered. Rebecca looked at me with exhausted eyes and convinced herself that she had outgrown the marriage that helped build her success. She believed I represented her past instead of her future. Without anger, without tears, she asked me to pack my belongings and leave. I carried one suitcase into the rainy Chicago night, feeling less like a husband and more like a forgotten chapter in someone else's success story. I rented a modest room across town and tried to rebuild my life in silence. The pain wasn't losing the house or the comfort. The deepest wound came from realizing the woman I loved no longer remembered who had helped her become the person everyone admired. Still, I refused to hate her. Love does not disappear overnight, even after heartbreak. 3 days later, Rebecca attended the company's final legal review before investors officially released the remaining funding. The legal team had completed a thorough compliance audit required for the acquisition. As each binder was opened, something unusual appeared. My full name, Michael Carter, was listed repeatedly throughout the documents. My research reports formed the foundation of the company's early market strategy. My financial restructuring plans had protected the business during its worst cash flow crisis. My documented process improvements had become official operating procedures. Even the intellectual property filings included technical notes I had written years earlier. Page after page revealed contributions nobody had bothered to acknowledge publicly. The room fell silent as attorneys explained that my documented work had been essential to the company's development and legal history. They weren't praising me to embarrass Rebecca. They were simply presenting facts supported by years of records, emails, contracts, and signed revisions. For the first time in years, Rebecca saw the complete picture. She realized success had never been built by one person standing alone. Every achievement she proudly celebrated rested upon countless sacrifices made by someone who had never demanded recognition. That evening, she drove to the small apartment where I was staying. She found me sitting on a worn balcony watching the sunset paint the sky over the city we had once dreamed of conquering together. She broke down under the weight of regret. The confident executive who negotiated million-dollar deals disappeared, replaced by the woman who finally understood how easily pride can destroy what love patiently builds. She admitted that success had slowly convinced her she no longer needed the people who carried her through failure. She confessed that every page bearing my name felt heavier than any business contract she had ever signed. Forgiveness was not immediate because real wounds need time to heal. We spent months rebuilding trust instead of pretending nothing had happened. Rebecca publicly acknowledged my contributions before her employees and investors. She created a company culture where every person's effort was recognized, from executives to receptionists. I chose to return not because she became successful again, but because she became humble again. Our marriage survived because both of us learned that respect must grow alongside achievement, or success eventually becomes empty. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and help us spread more stories about forgiveness, humility, and second chances. Before we end, please leave a comment with the words, "True love remembers every sacrifice." We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Life has a remarkable way of revealing the truth when pride tries to hide it. Titles fade, fortunes rise and fall, and applause eventually becomes silence. But the people who quietly believe in us when nobody else does are life's greatest blessing. Never wait until their name appears on every page of your success before realizing they deserved a place in your heart all along. If you'd like, I can also make this story even more cinematic and extend it to a full 1,000-word YouTube narration.